Now, today's session, we will start with statistics with Python. Yes, what is statistics according to you? Yes, anyone can unmute and answer like what is statistics or what is statistic?
Deriving mathematical meanings from
Yes,
data, sir.
anyone?
Deriving mathematical meaning from the data.
Okay, anyone else?
Applied mathematics,
So process data
projection,
for
organization,
information.
analysis,
Okay,
and presentation.
Collecting and
analysis.
analyzing data.
Okay. Anyone else like okay, let's do you see read newspapers? There's one Financial Express newspaper.
Yes.
So what you get to see there?
Graphs, trends, and
Values or statistic.
yeah.
Statistic about various organizations, cells, organizations, share values, and so on. Yes. So statistic is a part of our everyday life. Yes, we analyze data, we collect data, we use that data, and we use that data for our further analysis. Like how much, say, I want to spend every day, where I should spend, and so on. So we use statistic every day in our life, and statistic has changed the way we look at data and how we analyze it further. Okay, so we have different statistics techniques, and statistics is one of the major aspect of data science. So it's not wrong to say that data science is not possible without statistics. Yes, so statistics is main part of data science, main part of entire data analytics. So today, what we have decided is like we will provide you theoretical aspects of what is statistics and how it can be used for analysis. We'll have a case study approach wherein we'll discuss how the basic statistic techniques can be used in Python. Okay, to start with, we have two sessions today. I myself will be delivering one session, and we have with us Dr. Nirmala Joshi from Met Institute of Management. She will be delivering or discussing theoretical aspects of statistics. So we'll have a blend of theory and practical hands-on session today. Yes. So I'll briefly introduce Dr. Nirmala Joshi, ma'am. She's a senior professor here at MIT Institute of Management. She heads the research and development department. She has completed her PhD in 1994, if I'm not wrong, ma'am. Okay, so that's a very, very good thing, like commendable that at such an young age, she's, I think, the youngest NET research fellow as well. So I think we have a nice expert today, and she will be discussing, sharing her experiences about statistics today. So I'll before starting with the session, I'll just put one question in front of you, and then we'll start with what is a statistic and what is hypothesis testing and so on. Okay, everyone must have heard about the Nestle. What happened with Maggie? Yes, can anyone tell me? Okay, Maggie was banned. Why it was banned?
Because of the
The
lead content, amount of lead
was
content was present. That's why.
Okay, amount of lead content. What was the expected amount, and how much amount was present? The expected amount is the lead amount should be less than 2.5 ppm. Okay, yes, but it was more. Now, how will you estimate that it was more? How will you prove that it was more than 2.5? Yes.
by
Now,
analyzing
how?
testing.
करना पड़ेगा ब्रो उसको वो
Okay.
जो भी होगा से उसको टेस्ट करना पड़ेगा उससे डेटा निकालना पड़ेगा.
But how many packets are manufactured every day by Maggie?
सर उसमें से सैंपल लेंगे, आई मीन नॉट
Okay, why
और
sample?
सर सारे सारे मैगी पैकेट चेक करना फिजिबल नहीं होगा, इसलिए सैंपल चेक करेंगे.
So you are saying that there are millions of Maggie packets manufactured every day. Please mute yourself. So we can't check each and every packet, right? So what we should do, we should collect a sample, and then we will collect, say, compute the percentage of or lead percentage in that sample, and then we'll find out what is the average lead content in the sample. But from that sample, can we claim that yes, the lead percentage is less than 2.5 ppm? Yes, so we are making a claim on the basis of sample, and this claim is known as hypothesis. So what is hypothesis testing? Testing this claim is your hypothesis testing. Again, keep in mind, this is just a claim that we are making. It doesn't mean that, yes. So now I think I have created a sufficient background for starting with hypothesis testing. Now I request Dr. Nirmala Joshi ma'am to deliver her session. Over to you, ma'am.
Good morning. So, Om Prakash sir has already set the tone for the session. So, today we are going to discuss that if there is millions of data or there are millions of, you can say millions of information, how to make sense out of that information, how to select that, yes, this information is useful to us or this information is not useful to us. In statistics, we are primarily doing that. And just now, sir has explained you with the help of very simple example. That is, in case of Maggie, we have observed that there are so many cases, so many packets are being produced every day. How can we figure it out that these packets are not having the lead content more than the desired content? So how to do that? So we are taking a sample, we are assuming that the lead content is less than as per the norms of the industry. It is not harmful for human body, and all production or all packets which are produced in that plant are following the desired standards. So with the help of one sample, we are testing it. This is called the testing of hypothesis. So we have assumed that all the packets which are produced by Maggie is having identical content of lead and which is not harmful for human consumption, and that's why we can sell it easily. So this is the way we are doing it for all types of cases. I will take very simple example. Suppose I'm going to conduct a survey of students who are in my class, and I want to say that students who are coming from engineering background are very good at statistics. They are very good at numbers. So what will I do? Can anybody will suggest me? Very simple example. I want to understand what is the understanding of data in my class. And there are two types of people who are sitting in my class: the students who are coming from an engineering background and students who are coming from non-engineering background, say BCom, BA, BMS, and all these uh, streams they have taken in during their graduation. I want to understand this. What will I do? Yeah, anybody who would like to explain it? Okay. So what will I do? I will calculate their marks in statistics, marks scored by engineering students and marks scored by non-engineering students. My hypothesis is those who are coming from engineering background, they are scoring high. Those who are coming from non-engineering background, they are scoring less. So what I have assumed, I assume that their performance is better as compared to students who are not coming from engineering background. So this assumption is hypothesis. And how will I test it? There are different ways to test it. So let's see, we will check it how to do it in very, very simple manner. Okay. So we will try to share all this information in a very simple manner so that you can understand it. Please ask questions wherever you are finding it difficult. Okay. Can you see the presentation? So today we are going to discuss the testing of hypothesis. What is hypothesis? Just recall, we have just discussed it with you in a very simple terms. I will say, what is hypothesis? Hypothesis is a statement about the value of a population. There is a group of people. What is population? It's a big group of people that all identical units are there. So that is your population. When I'm talking about the population of students who are studying in my class, so my population is only students who are doing MBA with me. So that is population for me. And I am drawing sample from that. So population will be different in all the cases. It depends on the objective of the study. So hypothesis is a statement about the value of a population parameters developed for the purpose of testing. The objective is to test the hypothesis. You cannot make any assumption without having any objective. I cannot sit on railway station, say whosoever is coming, I have to check the IQ of that person, because I cannot do that. I should have a purpose. Why I want to check the IQ of people? So it is related to my class. Suppose students who are studying in my class, I want to check their IQ level. If my objective is study the IQ level for all people, then it is not possible for a researcher. It's very difficult. So we have to have one purpose that yes, this is my purpose. Accordingly, we will make the hypothesis. So hypothesis is a statement about the value of a population. The population which you are studying is a parameter which we have tried to quantify or which are described in such a manner that we can test it. The ultimate objective is to test it. Okay. So in simple language, hypothesis testing is testing a statement which you can test. Now I will give you a simple example. Why do we do hypothesis testing? In hypothesis testing, we come to know whether the sample is drawn from a same population or not. For example, you are testing which is better, apples are better or your oranges are better. How will you compare it? If apples are, you have to compare apple with apple. You cannot compare apple with orange because both are from different population. You want to find out which is better, so you have to compare two apples. You cannot compare two apple to oranges unless there are certain similarities in this. The same thing is applicable in our data analytics. Whenever we are drawing any conclusion, whenever we are doing any research, we have to collect a sample from an identical population, common population. And then from the same population, we can draw two samples and we can compare it. The average of first sample and the second sample is same or not. Or other parameters. You must have studied the average value or the variance or the skewness or kurtosis. There are so many other parameters of the in the stats which Om Prakash sir might have discussed with you, or when you will join the program in detail you will learn it. Here today we are talking only about the simple value or the mean value. So suppose I'm interested in knowing the IQ level of my students. So my population is my classroom. From the classroom, I am taking a sample of engineering student and I am taking a sample of non-engineering student. So the population is same. In engineering student, they are also sitting there. It means their background is identical. They all are here for the management studies. They all have done the graduation in engineering. So they have good exposure in mathematics or statistics. So these are the common character in that sample. That's why I can compare it. That's why I can say okay, one person, Mr. X, whom I have picked up, is coming from the same group or not. So hypothesis testing helps us to understand that the object which we have selected or the sample which we have drawn, is it coming from the same population or not? If it is coming from the same population, then whatever calculation or the analysis we have done on that sample will be applicable on the population. So that is the objective of doing the hypothesis testing. Is it clear to all of you? So here we can think about other examples. For example, we are talking about the monthly income of mechanical engineers is 36,000. It means the population is all mechanical engineers in that particular area. And on an average, their income will be 36,000. There may be exception, there may be common outcome where all the mechanical engineers are having income in between that range. Okay, so how to do that? So let us learn the basic concepts in hypothesis testing. Before going to in detail, we must know what is hypothesis and what are the important aspects of that to go for the testing of hypothesis. Because without understanding the basic concept, we cannot apply in Python or any other software. And we can do it manually also. So there are few important concepts which I am going to explain you in brief. Normally we explain in detail because all these are based on certain mathematical calculations. Today we are not going into the detail of that. I will just give you the simple meaning of these concepts so that you can understand it. So the first thing is there are 8 important concepts in hypothesis testing. The first is confidence interval. Second is hypothesis, that is your null and void hypothesis. We have already discussed. Then your standard normal distribution, reason of acceptance and rejection, type 1, type 2 errors, and so on. So step by step, we will discuss all. What is confidence interval or what is level of confidence? In general language, whenever you are talking, somebody is calling you, okay, we are going to have lunch today. So are you going to join us? What will you say? Yes, 100% I'm going to join it. What is this 100%? It is your level of confidence. You are very sure that you want to join that lunch program. Sometimes it happens, your parents are asking you, okay, how are your papers? The exam which you appeared, you said, okay, to some extent, yeah, I will score first division and above, or I will score 75% marks and all. So what is the level of confidence? 99% I will score 60%, or if something goes wrong, I can score less than that or above that. It means you are not fully confident. So whenever we are talking in general terms also, we say with 99% confidence, yes, it will happen like this. And there is 1% chance that it will not happen like this. The same thing we do in our data analysis. Whatever data we are collecting, whatever analysis we are doing, we cannot be 100% sure. All the observations will not fall in that category. There are chances the observation will fall apart. This means they will be outliers. For example, we have started from the Maggi. So in Maggi packets, we can see that if out of 10 lakhs packet, you have selected a sample of say 500. So out of 500, when you have tested the quantity of lead in that, you will find that 95% cases, all the packets, the entire product is coming in that category. But there may be some samples where this is not as per the desired quantity. There may be some changes in this. These are the outliers. So there may be less content of lead or there may be more content of lead. It is not necessary, it is exactly the same. Many times it happens because of the mixing of ingredient and so on. So whenever we are doing data analysis, we always see all the observations are in a normally distributed curve. This is in a bell shape. And they are tend to be in the center size because the maximum observations will fall in that category. And there will be few observations which will be less than category, means the content will be very less, or there may be some observation where the content is very high. So it will be left side of your tail or the right side of your tail. So confidence level or confidence interval gives you insight about this. With what level of confidence you are sure that your observation will fall in that category. Okay. So normally we talk about this, that with 95% confidence level or 99% confidence level, the object will or the sample will fall in this category. So this helps us to actually draw the limits. For example, suppose normally you are scoring with your all, if I look at your previous scores, you are scoring 80-85% marks every year. Now, if I have to set it, that what will be your score in data science course this year, I want to just predict it. So how will I do it? With 95% level of confidence, I will say it will be in between, plus minus, because normally you are scoring 80% marks. So you may score 75%, between 75% and 85%. It can be 76, 78, 79. So this is a normal range. So this is with the level of confidence. You can say the ultimate result will fall in this category. Okay. So level of confidence and the confidence interval gives us this liberty to decide a limit that the observations will fall under this category. This is the lowest limit and this is the highest limit. So that helps us to draw a limit and we can see all the observations are coming in that category or not. This level of confidence is we have to decide it. When we are doing analysis, we are doing experiments in life sciences, the level of confidence should be very high because there the stakes are very high. We cannot take risk. So our confidence level should be extremely high that yes, this is the impact of your drugs on the life of a person or any disease. But when we are doing a business analytics, then yes, normally if it is 95%, it is accepted by all the experts. Okay, I hope you are comfortable with the first concept that is called level of confidence interval. You can just see this is a very simple example. This is a bell curve normal distribution. Whenever we are presenting all information in a frequency form, so you will observe that at the starting there are less frequency, in the middle there are highest concentration of frequency, and again in the maximum side there is again a low concentration of frequency. Just take the example of again the classroom. You will find in any class, there will be few students who have just second class or past class. Very few students normally in our college. Maximum students are in a group of 70 to 80% marks. Okay, so that is the mean value. But there may be few students who have scored 95% marks. There may be few students who have scored 99%. So this is the extreme side. So if I put a frequency distribution of this, it will come in a bell shape. Okay. So normally the maximum concentration of a student will be a particular range where the 95% students are falling under that category. Remaining 2.5% will be either the very slow learner or they have scored very less, or there will be few students who have scored very well. Now suppose I am drawing a sample from this. There are 100 students in this group. And now I have taken a first sample and I have just find out the mean value of that. And the mean value is coming in that category. You can see here, if I use this pointer, can you see the cursor? This in first sample, you can see the mean value is coming in this category. Okay. So it is in this normal area. This is the normal area. So 95% observation will fall under the normal area. And these are the outliers because these are the exception. There may be some student who has scored very less because they could not study. And there may be some students who are very brilliant. They have scored very high. So this is my normal area where 95% observation will fall under this category. So my first sample mean is coming this. It means this is from the same population. If I take the second sample, you can see the mean is coming in this category. That is also coming from the same population. If you see the sample number, next sample, which is in red, the mean is coming here. So means this is not from the same population because these are intelligent students or they scored very well. So they are coming in that level. So this is not coming in the normal 95% confidence level. And the next sample again, you can see the mean value is coming here. It means it is within the range. So this is the way we are doing the testing of hypothesis. We see that this is my normal curve. In normal curve with the 95% limits, these are the limits. This is the lower limit and this is the upper limit. So this is my lower limit and this is my upper limit. My maximum outcome will be under this category. So we use testing of hypothesis here. If suppose I have taken a sample, my mean value is coming this, it is significantly different from the population mean or it is same. So this is what we do in testing of hypothesis. I hope you could follow me. Any question? Okay, so let's go. So this is the first, you can say the first basic concept, that deciding the level of confidence Normally, in normal terms, we always talk about 95%, 99% or 90%. Okay. Now, I will just take one simple example when we are talking. This is also, you can say these tails are normally considered as a margin of error, because many times it happens that whatever you expected, there may be some error in that, because always we cannot predict anything with a 100% confidence. For example, suppose I'm taking there are a group of 10 patients. Their mean weight is 240 pounds. Okay. And the standard deviation is 25 pounds. Now we have to find out the interval. How will you do it? We will simply do it. We will say this is the mean value, and plus minus this standard error of this will give me the parameter that this will be the lowest and this will be the highest value of this. So my mean value will be here. This is my 240. Okay. Now we have to say the alpha is nothing. It is your, on the basis of your level of confidence, the how much area you are going to leave. So 95% is here in the center. It means 5% is outside this. So 5% if I divide by 2, so it is my 2.5% and this is my 2.5%. So it means there are chances that 2.5% values will be in the left side and 2.5% values will be in the right side. So chances are very high. Now how to figure it out that what will be the limit of 95%? So for this we have formula. Okay. So I will not go into detail of this right now because we can do it in Python quickly, which Om Prakash sir will explain you doing personally here, and you can follow that. There is a simple formula, that is Z area. This is called Z area. This is your Z area. Okay. So what is this area? All the observations are coming here. So it is based on the experience of people, those who have worked on, who developed this theory. So they have worked on millions of data and they had done the iteration, and on the basis of this, they said this is the, normally this is the Z area, or so many observations will fall under this category. So this area is described by them. So we take the Z value on from the tables which are given to us by the experts who have actually developed these theories. So this is Z value, and this is your alpha. Alpha is nothing. This is your level of significance. This is your level of confidence, 95%. So remaining 5% is your level of significance. So when I divide it by 2, I will get alpha for the left side and alpha for the right side. So 8 alpha divided by 2 will give me the value. This is my 0.025. And we have to multiply with the standard deviation divided by under root here. So in this case, the standard deviation is 25 pounds and n under root means n is number of observation 10 under root of that. So we have to just observe this and multiply with this and do the plus minus to 240. 240 is your mean value. The moment I deduct this value from this, I will get the lower limit, and I add in this, I will get the upper limit. Okay. So we will do it practically in front of you and we will draw it in Python and you will understand it properly. So this was the first concept which we are supposed to understand. The second concept in this, in hypothesis testing, is that when we are talking about hypothesis, how many types of hypothesis can be there? So in statistics, we talk primarily 2 types of hypothesis. One is your null hypothesis, second is your alternative hypothesis. What is null hypothesis? Null hypothesis is very simple. There is no difference between 2 people or 2 parameters or 2 objects which we had drawn from the sample. It means V1 variable 1 is equal to V2. Suppose I am drawing suppose I have taken the sample from my class. We are taking the same example. So Mr. X, he has scored 74 marks and Mr. Y, he scored 78 marks. Okay. Though numerically we can see 78 and 76 are different. There is a difference of 2. But statistically, when we prove it, we check it with the variance of the group and the mean value of the group. On the basis of our calculations, you will find there is no significant difference. Both are coming from the same population. So almost same, because we have decided the range. The students falling under this range are same. They are identical. They are from the same population. So whenever we are assuming in our hypothesis, there is no significant difference between two variables. Means the score of Mr. X and the score of Mr. Y both are same. This is called null hypothesis. But when we say no, the score is different, it means marks obtained by Mr. X is more than the marks obtained by Mr. Y. It's significantly different. It means it can be the Mr. X has scored 40 marks and Y has scored 60 marks. Now 40 and 60, yes, obviously this is different. But if we talk about the population and we check it, we can prove it that there is a difference between 40 and 60. The mean value which is coming or the marks which are coming here. So that is called alternative hypothesis, where we are assuming that one value is either greater than or less than another value. Okay, here we are assuming that both the values are null hypothesis, both the values V1 is equal to V2. Now we can see that how can be 40 is equal to 60, but when we test it statistically, you can see that it is from the same sample, means both the values are same. But when the values are really different, so V1 is not equal to V2. So this is your alternative hypothesis. So these are the most important concept in testing of hypothesis. So now we have learned two types of hypothesis. There are two types of hypothesis. One is null hypothesis, where we are assuming both the observations. Now these observations can be mean, these can be the actual values, or it can be variances or anything depending on your objective of analysis are same. In alternative hypothesis, we are assuming one observation is either greater than or less than the second observation. Okay. So in simple language, every null hypothesis will have alternative hypothesis. When I say the marks obtained by Mr. X is same to marks obtained by Mr. Y, if I convert into alternative hypothesis, I will say Mr. Y has scored more than Mr. X. So every null hypothesis will have your alternative hypothesis. In all the analysis, it is always there. Okay, so we can just see the simple example here. Right now I have explained you there is no significant difference between IQ of two groups. If I am drawing conclusion from two groups, the engineers and non-engineers, but the alternative will be there is a significant difference between IQ of two groups. This way we actually develop the hypothesis. So it's very simple rule. When null hypothesis is accepted, your alternative will be automatically rejected. If your alternative hypothesis is accepted, automatically your null hypothesis will be rejected, because both cannot go hand on hand. It's obviously, if your two groups are different, means they cannot be same. So either they are different or they are same. So this is what we test under hypothesis on the basis of the various parameters. Okay, so now we can do it at 5% level or 99%, either approve or reject. Now, whenever we are talking about approval and rejection, we have certain process which we have to follow. We cannot blindly accept and reject any hypothesis. So now we will see how to do that. Okay. Now, as I told you, in normal curve, there are areas which are already calculated on the basis of lots of experiment. So in a normal curve, where the data is normally distributed, this is called normally distributed. It means at initial level, data is increased. There are very few values in this, but at the center point, the maximum values are coming. And then again, when we increase the value, your number of frequency or number of observation or the values are decreasing. We will just take, as I told you, I have taken very simple example in your class. If you are talking, this is the average marks of your class. There may be few students who have scored very less, and there may be few students who scored very high. Okay, but yeah, do you want to ask anything? Any question? Okay, so this is normal distribution. So in normal distribution, when we are talking about this, on the basis of lots of calculations, the experts have worked on it and they have observed that when we take a normal distribution is nothing, it is a distribution of various sample means, okay, when we had put it in a frequency form and we have calculated the variance of that, okay. So this is the center point is your mean value. In a normal distribution, the mean value, your x bar or average is always assumed as 0 and standard deviation is assumed as 1. So this is -1 standard deviation, this is +1 standard deviation. And you will not believe that 68.27% observations will fall under this category. It means in your class, the average score is of 65. You will find that out of 100 students, approximately 68.27 students will be in this range. Suppose I am taking, this is the mean value, this is your 60, okay, and this is your 50, and this is your 70. So you will find that 68% students are between 50 and 70 range. If I just go to ±2 standard deviation, it means from my mean value, I deduct 2 standard deviation. My limit is, say, suppose coming it is 40 and this is coming 80. Okay. I have just assumed it. Okay. There is no mathematical calculation I have done right now. So my 95% students will fall under this category between 40 marks and 80 marks. If I go to mean value ±3 standard deviation, then the 99.73% of observation. Suppose it is coming 30 and this side it is 90. Okay. So 99.73% students are in the range of 30 and 90. All students are covered under this. So this is based on the various experiments. So we have to take it as a standard. This is called the standard normal curve. And normally in all cases, this is the observation. There may be outliers. Okay. So mean of standard normal distribution is always 0 and the standard deviation is 1. The entire modeling is based on it. Whenever we are developing any test, just a minute. So the formula is how to do it. So we calculate the Z score, that is the area, which we have seen here right now. We have seen this. This is called your area. Okay. So how to this? So suppose I have picked up one student's score. The mean value is, my mean value we had assumed here 60 and person has scored 50. So how to figure it out? 55 suppose. So we have to check it whether it is normal or not. So there is a formula. So you can see this formula. My observation is 50. Okay. So I can write it here. And the mean value is 60. And suppose the standard deviation is 10. So you can calculate the Z value here. And we can see the area under this and we can figure it out what is the limit on the basis of it. So this you will do it in Python, that how to do it. You can create all the models based on it. And actually this is the most important step where you can do the prediction that if the value is coming from this is coming in a normal range or it is not in a normal range. Okay. Now, based on this concept, now you must have understood that if my observation is coming under this, say suppose it is coming when I am doing the ±2 standard deviation or 1.96 standard deviation, my 95% observations are coming in the middle point. Okay. And the sample I have picked up, the value is coming here. It means this is my reason of acceptance. It is from the same population. But I picked up one student whose score is only 22. So this is my reason of rejection, that he is not from the normal, the 95% limit which we have set. This person is not coming in this. So he has scored less. So this is called the reason of acceptance and reason of rejection. So any value which is falling under this category, you can see the center, this is the reason of acceptance, and any value which is coming in this category, this is reason of rejection. Is it clear to all of you? Again, I will say any value which you have picked up, any sample, if it is coming under this area, this is your acceptance level, that yes, it is normal thing. If it is coming in this area or this area also, this is reason of rejection. So we have to reject it. So your null hypothesis will be rejected and alternative will be accepted. So this is the rule of thumb. Now coming to the next point, that is level of significance. As I told you, when we are talking about level of confidence, the residual, because anything will happen in 100%. So my confidence is 90%. So what is left there? That is the area which is for which I am not so confident. So that is called as level of significance, which is giving me a probability that yes, the event may occur in this side also. So what is level of significance? Level of significance is nothing. It is your area where you might think that yes, observation will fall in this category, which is not normal, okay, which is beyond my confidence level. So 90% is my level of confidence, then my level of significance is 10%. If my level of confidence is 99%, my level of significance will be 1%. If my level of confidence is 95%, my level of significance will be 1%. So it depends on you. Higher the level of confidence, the chances of rejecting null hypothesis will be less. If higher the level of significance, it means there will be more rejection chances. If I put this area high, it means this area will be less. So if I take this area up to this point, it means my confidence limit will be less. So this is the way we understand this. Okay. So the next concept which we had discussed is level of significance. It is just because total of level of confidence and significance is always equal to 1. So if confidence level is 0.9, so significance will be 0.1 and so on. Okay. Clear? Now, we have already discussed this. I am sure that you have learned it very easily. This is very simple concept. Okay. Now, I have given all the example. If the level of confidence is 95%, the significance will be 5% and so on. Now, coming to this point, when we are talking about level of confidence and significance, if we go and see the tables where the area is where the Z area is given. Okay. So suppose I am talking about my level of confidence is 95%. Okay. So when we calculate it in our standard, this is our normal distribution, normal curve. Okay. So when I am talking about 95%, it means my 95% area is this. So this is my 0. And this side, what will be the value? So this is based on the figures which are given in our tables, that if you are going towards this side, if you are taking 95% area, so the value here will be minus 1.96. Okay, this is based on the Z tables which are already created by experts. So the Z value will be 1.96 standard deviation, which will cover your this much area. And this plus side will be same thing, 1.96. So between minus 1.96 and plus 1.96, you will have 95% observations. Okay. Similarly, if you are talking about level of confidence 99%, so this standard deviation will go to minus 2.58 and plus 2.58. If you are talking about 90% observation, it will go to minus 1.65 and plus 1.65. Okay. So this is the way we actually interpret all the observation. Where do we use it? We use it when accept the hypothesis or reject the hypothesis. Now, the another most important aspect in our hypothesis testing is degrees of freedom. Now, what is degrees of freedom? So suppose I am drawing a sample where the total number of total numbers which I want to take is 10. So I need to select independently minimum 9 observation. One observation I can select as a residual. Why? I want observation totally unbiased. So everything, all samples, all the objects which I am selecting, it should be independent. So degrees of freedom talks about the values or the number of observation which are freely chosen. There is no bias in this. These are independent so that my calculation, my analysis is dependable. If I am biased there, I am not selecting the sample properly, my results will be biased. So degrees of freedom is always giving us that how many observations should be totally independent so that your results are unbiased. So for suppose you want to select any sample, normally n minus 1 is your degrees of freedom. Suppose you are selecting 2 samples, so it's very simple. The total number of observation for the first sample plus second sample minus 2 will be your degrees of freedom. Now where do we use this? To find out the critical value, degrees of freedom is very important. Because if you go and check the tables, Z table or T table, you will have to check the area on the basis of the degrees of freedom, the Z value on the basis of degrees of freedom and the level of significance. So that's why we have to finalize the degrees of freedom and level of significance to arrive at a critical value in the hypothesis testing. So here we are using it. Now we will do the same thing in Python. Om Prakash sir will explain you how to do it in Python. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Stop sharing. Stop sharing. ऊपर. Just a minute. Okay. नहीं किया. Stop sharing. Okay, I think ma'am has already ऊपर ना stop sharing. Okay, just a minute. Just give us 2 minutes, okay? I think ma'am has already explained everything and she has covered the theoretical aspect. So today what we will do is now, yesterday there was a lot of issues regarding sharing data and all. How many of you use Facebook? Yes. Have you stopped using Facebook now? How many of you use Facebook? Yes. You can unmute yourself and tell me. Okay, many of you. How many friends you are having? You can type in chat box.
I don't use Facebook.
Okay. 600. Nowadays Insta only. Okay, how many friends you are having on Insta?
400 around.
See, I can see 300. You can see 1,000 and 300. I can see 1,000. Okay, this is our data set for today's example. Yes. Okay. So what I thought, instead of sharing the files, and there are a lot many issues, people were not able to access yesterday's files. We will use your friends count on Facebook or Instagram as our data set. Yes. And what we will do using this data set, we'll compute Z values. So you know that, see, Z hypothesis testing or hypothesis needs to be proved, okay? We are claiming, it's a claim. So we have two types of tests. One, a Z test and a T test. For Z test, just now ma'am has told that, that we have, yes, Okay. See, we will take the questions. Mounting drive, I'll just explain after some time. But right now, what we will do is we will not use any file data. I'll share you data which just now you have typed the friends list or friends count. Okay. So see, the hypothesis needs to be framed in such a way that we are defining the null hypothesis and we are defining the alternate hypothesis. Let's consider we want to find out the estimated value of, say, ABC company, and say ABC company claims that the estimated value is 140 or say $14 billion. Now, what would be my hypothesis in this case? The null hypothesis. And what will be my alternate hypothesis? Can anyone try? See now, for null hypothesis, we always use equal to. For null hypothesis, we always use equal to, less than or equal to, or, yes, anyone, greater than or equal to sign. Yes. So no. Okay. So for null hypothesis, what we do is we use equal to sign. We use equal to sign. We use yes. What we use less than or equal to and greater than or equal to. What sign will use for alternate hypothesis? Not equal to, less than, and greater than. So generally, what we do is for a z-test, we use the critical value method and we use p-value. What we need is the standard deviation, we need the population mean, and we need a lot of other statistic values. So now everyone is with me, and what you will be doing, you will start your Colab. Yes, I'm sharing my screen. Give me a minute. Okay, start Colab. Okay. Just give me a minute for sharing. Okay. I'll just share from some other PC. Just a second. Just give me a minute, okay? By that time, you will start your. Yes. Yes, now I'm ready. I think, okay. Few people are asking for how to use Colab and all. So I'll quickly share the screen with everyone. Yes, is my screen visible? Can anyone acknowledge? Yes, is my screen visible?
Yes.
Yes.
Sir.
Yes, can anyone acknowledge? Is my screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Is it visible?
Okay. So now what we will do is start Colab. Yes, start Colab. And create a new notebook. Create a new notebook. Okay. Yes, are you in sync with me? You can type in chat box also. Yes. Yes. Okay. So now create a new lab collab. Yes, someone was asking about how to use it. Yes. So create a new live collab notebook. Okay. Mounting of drives will see. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So
Yes.
now what we will do is we'll call it as say day 10, sorry, day 2. Now, what we want to do is we want to define or we want to use our application. We want to say compute Z values. Okay. So to compute Z values, first of all, we'll create or a data set. Now, which data set I will use? As I told you, I'll not be specifying you what to say. I'll not be using any file today. So I'll just share some data set, and what we will do, we'll have the count of social networking site friends data. Okay, clear? So what I'm doing is I'm sharing a data with you. I'm sharing data with you, and what I'll do is just give me a minute. I'm just copying this particular data in chat box. Okay, these are few numbers. Even if you can type, if you are not able to say get it through the chat box. So can anyone acknowledge? I have typed this data in chat box. Okay, just wait for a minute. Yes, everyone has got. So this is a sample data that we will be using for our rest of the communication or rest of the settings that we are going to have. Clear? You can type in chat box also. So the first thing that we are going to do is we are going to use this particular data. Yes. So how will you use this particular data? Now we have array of data, or we have array of values, we have multiple values. Now whenever we have multiple values, we call it as an array. Array is say set of values of same data type. Now in order to use this particular data, we will use a built-in library in Python, and the library that I'm using is NumPy. Okay, see, as compared to yesterday, this is a different method. Yesterday we have loaded the data from CSV file. Yesterday we have loaded the data from CSV file, and today what we are doing, yes, we are not loading it from a CSV file. We are taking this data which I have shared here. So to use this particular data, I just have to specify a variable name like this. Friends is equal to, and I have to provide square brackets. And after square brackets, I just have to copy this data. And I have to paste it here. Yes. So how will you do that? Just copy this data and paste it. Yes. Clear? And press enter. Okay, so what we just have done, we have created our data set, and what this data set consists of, it consists of the count or friends count of a randomly selected people. Yes? Okay, is it working? Let me know, is it working? Yes, is it working?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay. Yes. So now, what we will do is, we'll have, say, friends, and it will show me the data. Okay. Now, first thing we are going to do is, first thing we are going to do is, we will be computing mean. Now, what is mean? Yes.
Value of data.
average.
Average
Average
value. Average
Okay.
value of data.
So how will you compute mean? Mean is equal to, let's say, friends mean is equal to, we have NP library, NP dot mean, and what I have to pass? I have to pass the friends array. Okay. Then we'll just display this value. Okay. Are you getting my point? Okay, I'm pausing for half a minute. Yes, are you getting echo?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay, so everyone has computed mean.
Yes.
Sir, can you scroll up just one time?
Okay, I just have copied these values in chat box.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, sir.
Clear? Now, what we will do next is, we will compute standard deviation. Yes, we'll compute standard deviation. Yes, everyone in sync with me? Shall I proceed?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So how will you compute standard deviation? So say std dev is equal to np dot, yes, anyone? Std, and the parameter that we have to pass is friends. Okay. Now tell me, what is mean? 789. What is standard deviation? 425.1862. Yes. Now what is standard deviation? Yesterday there was a question. Standard deviation is how your values are deviating from mean. So to understand this, now we'll plot a graph. Okay. Done. So we will get the distribution of our data, and to see how our data is distributed, we will plot a bar plot. Yes. And to plot a bar plot, we need one more library. Which library we need? Yes.
Matplotlib.
Okay. So import matplotlib dot pyplot. Okay. And the standard name given is as PLT. Okay. Now, there are two ways in which you can show the plots. You can make it inline, or you can specify the area for displaying the plot. So for displaying the plot area, I'm using plt.figure, and I'm giving a size. You can change this size as per your requirement. Okay. So we are setting up the things for plotting a graph. Okay. So we have figure size of 720 into 360, and in this size we'll just have a graph. Now tell me what I want to plot. I want to plot the, now we just have one data set here. So what we will do, we'll just assign the index as our on y-axis, and on x-axis we'll have friends. Okay. Am I wrong? All right. What will be on y-axis and what will be on x-axis?
Index on x-axis.
Okay, number of friends on y-axis and index of friend on x-axis. So what we will do is, we will now generate individual numbers. So in what range we want to generate numbers? So how many values are there in this data set? Are you getting my point? How many values are there in this data set? Yes. Anyone is counting? Okay. Don't count. We can count it also using the function. So there are around 24 values. Okay. But we'll see the function later on. Now, first of all, on y-axis and x-axis, what we'll have. So I'm just declaring a variable position is equal to, see now, I'm giving range. Range allows you to select a range of values from, you can provide starting position, you can provide stop position, or you can provide the sequential values or whatever values we have. So what we will do, we'll provide length function to range, and we will pass the friends array. Now we'll just type POS here, and now see what it will generate. It will generate a range of 0 to 24. Are you getting my point? So what is size? What is length of friends array? What is length of friends array? Anyone?
24.
25.
24.
24 or 25? 25. What is our starting index?
0.
0. That's why I said that don't count it manually. Okay.
25.
So what will be on a y-axis? 0 to 24 will be on y-axis or x-axis?
X-axis.
सर एक्स एक्सिस पे रेंज होगा
X-axis.
X-axis, whereas on y-axis we'll have friends, count of friends. So where is our count of friends? It is in friends array. So now we got two arrays. One, position, second, friends. And now what we'll do, we'll plot a bar plot of friends against the position or whatever variable you want to give. So are you in yes, is it working? Let me know.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So can I continue?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what next we want to do? We will plot a bar plot. So for that now we have to use PLT dot. So can anyone guess? You will get the name here, bar, and first parameter you have to specify is X, and second you have to specify is what we want on Y. So what data we want to against which we want to plot. So first parameter would be position, second parameter would be friends. We'll not see rest of the parameters as of now. Okay, execute this. And are you getting the bar plot?
Sir.
Yes. Everyone has got it?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Now,
sir.
we'll just do certain labels here. Now tell me what is there on x-axis and what is there on y-axis? Yes.
This
So
is
if I want
position.
to specify labels here, I have to
Yes, friends.
specify PLT dot, yes, anyone? On X label. Yes, what should be our X label?
Positions.
Or say people, or say a person, or say users.
Mhm.
Okay, these are the users, and users friends count is on Y. So PLT dot Y label, and what will go here? Friends count. Rerun the code. Yes. Now, if you look at the bar plot, now I want to further analyze this particular bar plot. How the distribution is as compared to mean, how the distribution is as compared to standard deviation. So what we will do, now we'll draw three horizontal lines. Yes, we'll draw three horizontal lines, one at mean, one below mean, and one above mean. Now, what is standard deviation? How your values are deviating from mean. So what we'll do, we'll draw a line, horizontal line representing our mean. Yes, is it working? Let me know. We can use a plot.show function also to remove the rest of the things. Yes, so just specify plot.show and it will just show the plot. Yes, is this clear? I'm just pausing for half a minute.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now next what we'll do, we'll draw a horizontal line. Where we'll draw a horizontal line? Are you getting my point?
At mean.
At mean. So what is my mean value?
79.
Yes.
789.
789.
789. So now what should be on x-axis? What should be on y-axis? And I'll not use bar plot function. I'm using PLT dot plot function. Now, what should be at x? What should be on y? So where we want to draw? See, 0 to 25 on x, that we already have discussed. 0 to 25, 24 doesn't matter. Okay. Then second, what is the parameter? What should be there on y? I want to plot my data points against mean. So what is my mean value?
189.
789. And again, keep in mind, I want to draw horizontal line. So what will be the value? So where I want it from 789 to 789. By default, it will be in blue color. So what we want, we will change the, by default, we want to draw the line. So we have to specify format specifier for drawing line. So I'm just specifying B minus here. Okay. Let's run this, and now it will be very clear for you. Okay. Is it showing the plot? Okay. Is it showing the line? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So
Yes.
now I'm just adding plt.show here. Okay.
So can you show the
what
bar,
we have to do
bar
is,
of mark once again?
I understood.
I got disconnected for some time.
Who got disconnected? So now we'll combine the above graph with this horizontal line. So just copy this from above. No need of figure size. From position, even position is not required, but only for understanding, because we have to plot the this particular one. Now run it, and now are you getting? So now tell me what you understand. How many values are below mean? How many values are above mean? And see here, in this particular case, if I specify plus, now let's see what happens. What it is showing? Are you getting my point? So if I want a horizontal line, I have to specify the format specifier as B minus. Okay, so we are just specifying the format specifier as the third parameter. First is your X, second is your Y, and third is the format specifier. How you want to plot the line. Hope this is clear. Now, next we'll draw horizontal line. B is color, minus is the format specifier. Yes. Okay. Is there any difficulty? Yes, anyone?
No, sir.
Now we will draw a line, okay, from mean to standard deviation. So now tell me, what is our standard deviation value? 425. See now what I'm doing. I'm plotting one more horizontal line, 0 to 25. What value it should be there if I want it above standard deviation? Are you getting my point? And here I'm giving G minus. Run it again. And see now, you have a clear distribution here, which says that where is your mean and how your data is deviating from your mean. So what we have done, we have drawn a line at mean, a line mean plus standard deviation, and now a line mean minus standard deviation. Okay. Is that clear? We could have stored this in variables, but I'm directly using values so that it will be much easier for you to understand. Yes.
Yes, sir.
And the color we'll use is red for this. Yes. Clear? Is it working?
Yes.
Okay. Now, What was the equation for Z value which was given by math? Is this clear? Yes. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Fine. So now we'll proceed further. So what we are doing, what is our interpretation from these 3 lines? Yes, anyone would like to describe this graph? What do we understand from this particular plot? Yes. Okay. Why we are drawing it, the horizontal line at mean? Why we are drawing the horizontal line of standard deviation plus mean and standard mean minus standard deviation? What it indicates? See, this clearly tells. See, yes, try.
The values above the standard deviation or below the standard deviation are outliers.
We are trying to find out how the friends are distributed, like the distribution of
Okay. Yes, that's perfect answer.
like are they in that normal range whatever madam told, like there is the bell curve, so we are trying to see how many people are in that region, the normal region, and how many in the extremes. So with this three lines are basically a symbolism of like the bell. That's how I'm understanding.
Okay.
Like above the green line is positive and below the red line is negative, like something like
Now,
that.
ma'am has used one term, critical region or region of acceptance and region of rejection.
Yes.
So how we are going to find that particular one? Okay. So can we use the same data set? So now we'll proceed to measuring the relative standing or measures of variation. One is Z-score. So what was Z-score's equation? Z-score's equation was Z is equal to X minus X bar divided by S. Now, first question, what is difference between Z-score and standard deviation? Yes, anyone would like to answer?
So could you repeat the question?
What is difference between standard deviation and Z-score? Okay, I'll come to that. Now, again, from these 3 lines, where are most of the data is lying? Which you will term as outliers? Can you tell me the values which will term as outliers? And now, can you understand the importance of standard deviation?
Yes.
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 So, which are outliers?
Anything above green line, I think, is an outlier.
Yes.
Above green line, below red line.
Which
Below,
one is
below,
Below
yeah,
red line.
below red line.
anything outside the lines, green as well as red, are outliers. You are just thinking about top part. Can you see one outlier below? There is one value which is very low.
Yeah, something
Now,
near
what
zero.
kind of analysis we can do? There are few people who are having very less friends. And see, if you use Facebook or you use Instagram, Instagram keeps on telling you have very less friends, and it gives you so many notifications that keep on adding in your friends. Are you getting my point? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So,
Yes, sir.
there are 3 people who have friend counts below the red line, and there are how many people above the green line?
3.
3. Yes. So, the measure of variation now we are going to define is z-score. So what is z-score's equation? Now we'll try to, pardon. Someone was saying, please mute yourself. Okay. Now, what we will do? We will compute z-score for this particular data set. How to do that? Yes. Now, little programming will be required here. So what was the equation? I'll just try to type the equation. And I'll come back to my question of standard deviation and z-score. So z is equal to x minus x bar divided by standard deviation. What is x? Individual x value. What is x bar? Mean.
Mean.
And what is s?
Standard
deviation. Now, the question is, what is difference between standard deviation and z value or z-score? See, the z-score is individual difference, individual points, data points difference, whereas standard deviation is average difference. Okay, so I have 10 points and how they are differing from mean. Average of it is standard deviation. What we are doing it with z-score? We are, yes, individual data point, how it is different from mean. Getting my point? So, how we are going to now define this in Python? So, we already have few variables. I'm just declaring it again. M is equal to, so first of all, I'm creating an array for our z-scores. So, just declare one array, z-scores is equal to, it's an empty array. We'll store values after we compute. So, I'm declaring one variable, M is equal to np dot, yes, any guesses? Mean. N is equal to np dot, yes, sorry. Now what I should pass in mean? Friends. And what I should pass in std? Friends. Okay. So we got our mean and we got the, sorry, not n, I'll call it as s, standard deviation. Now, how will you get x? Where is the x? Okay, done till this point. So, we have to use a loop now. Loop to traverse through each data point. Where are our data points stored? Anyone? Our data points are in friends array. So we can use for loop. The for loop allows you to traverse through an array. So what is syntax for loop? Now, one very important thing in Python is we must have to indent data or indent our statements. If you're not following proper indentation, code will not work. So for declare dummy variable, say f1, then you have to specify in operator. So what we'll read, for each f1 in, where is our data? In friends. So after this, we have to specify colon. And see, press enter, it will be automatically indented. This indentation is very important. Now, what is the equation for Z score? Z is equal to X minus X bar. What is X here? Yes. What is X here?
F1.
F1 value.
F1 minus, what is the X bar?
M.
M.
M. And what is standard deviation?
S.
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 Yes. And this particular line will give us our Z score.
For first friend.
Pardon?
For first value.
What's the problem? I didn't get you. Okay. And now, where we want to store these values? In which array we wanted to store these values? We created an empty array.
Z score.
So
Z score.
Z scores. Now, how you are going to append? Append Z. Yes. Are you getting my point? Yes, done. Yes or no? We'll run this. Let's check, is there any error? I'm not getting any error. I'll pause for half a minute. A few of you can give acknowledgements whether it is working or not. Okay, you can print Z scores if it is working. You got the Z scores? Now what ma'am said, minus 1.69 and all that values, but we need that distribution table. We'll not go in that way. We will visualize this now. And then we'll analyze what this visual interpretation tells us. Okay, done? Okay. Yes, anyone has any issues, let me know. Is it working? Okay,
Yes, sir.
I'm not checking chat. Okay. Okay, done. Perfect. Now we will plot a graph now against, yes, which one we should plot? On y-axis, sorry, on x-axis, what will be there? Position, and on x-axis, Z scores. Try to do this. I'm not purposefully doing it now. I want you people to try it and just share what is happening and how it is different from the previous graph and what we can analyze. I'm giving 1 minute's time to try it. Yes, try and let me know. Plot a graph of values against Z scores.
Sir, can you scroll from top?
Okay, this is fine.
From top, sir.
Yes. So PLT dot part, what will be there? Position, comma,
Z scores.
Z.
Z scores.
Tell me, Z scores. And now, are you getting this?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, we got that.
Now you tell me which one we are going to. Yes. Is it making sense?
Yes.
Yes or no?
Yes.
So whatever we discuss theoretically, we can implement it using Python like this. Okay, now someone is asking me now what we need to do. Yes, we have executed this. Yes, I think Gerald, yes. Have you drawn the plot? Have you tried the plot? Yes, got it, got it. Perfect. Any questions? I'm just pausing for half a minute. And now then we'll proceed further. What we should do next? Yes.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Would it be possible to kind of like name it something so that it's much more clear what is what, like what is the x-axis denoting, y-axis denoting?
Maximize. Okay. Okay, we can draw the labels. Is that the question?
Yes,
Or you can
exactly.
type in chat box.
Yeah, that is what I'm asking. The labels, like we know what we were finding, but when you're showing to other people, they won't know, right? What we have found out.
Okay. See, on x-axis we have the position. We just defined it now before. The index of our friends or users. So users are there on x-axis and Z scores are on y-axis. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now tell me, what is your observation from this particular graph? Now we will plot 3 more lines. Now tell me where I should plot these lines. We will plot a blue line. Okay, can we compute Z score of standard deviation? Yes. If we consider standard deviation as say our data point, can we compute a Z score of standard deviation? Yes or no? So what we will do, we'll plot 3 more lines. What will be there on Y? What will be there on X? And we'll have 3 different color lines. Okay. So let's draw 3 lines. Now tell me where I should draw it. If we see the previous explanation, now we'll draw a blue line. We'll draw a green line. So what should be the values for green line? So PLT dot, yes, plot, and what should be the values for green line? 0, 25 will be common for all. For green line, what will be the values? 1, 1 and say G minus. Second, we'll draw PLT dot plot 0, 25. Then, yes, what should be there for blue line? 0, 0. B minus and PLT dot plot 0, 25, yes, minus 1, minus 1, right? Yes or no? R minus. Run this. And is that clear? So what is your analysis now? Yes. Okay, I'll just wait because you must be trying it.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes.
The formula that NumPy dot standard deviation uses, which one is that? So it is the upon n or n minus 1. We have two formulas for standard deviation, right? One is for population and one is for sample. Which one does the NumPy use?
Yes. Which formula we are having? What is your question?
So the standard deviations formula is under root of summation of mean minus value upon n, sample size for the population, and the same formula with the different denominator n minus 1. Which one does the NumPy use?
Okay, so you want to say, ask like which type of formula the NumPy uses for standard deviation?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay. See, standard deviation uses the square root of mean formula. I'm not exactly getting the question. So when we compute with the standard equation as per the library, the standard deviation computation is done using the measure of spread of distribution, and the equation is the same one where we square root of mean of x, and where x would be absolute value of a minus a, that is the square root of a minus x bar of square. Okay, which other formula you're talking about, like?
So there are actually two formulas for standard deviation. One is for the population standard deviation and other is for the sample one. We include Bessel's correction on the sample one, like for the denominator, we subtract degree of freedom so that we don't underestimate the population standard deviation. Just want to ask that one, sir.
I will just like to tell you here, normally we do n minus 1 when the small sample is small. The observations are less than 30. Because the sample is small, the distribution is not absolutely normal. Then we need to do the adjustment. Then when we are predicting, we are calculating the standard deviation for the population, we have to make the adjustments by doing n minus 1. So whenever the sample is small, we have to accept the formula that whenever you are using standard error, the formula which you are saying is the standard error. So adjusting the standard deviation, predicting, converting into the standard deviation of your population. So we do the adjustment for the error which is there in a small observation. In large sample or in a normal distribution, we assume that the sample standard deviation is almost same of the population standard deviation, and the observations are more than 30, then we don't require to do the adjustment of n minus 1 there. So it is always n. So normally this is the logic behind this. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, I hope that has cleared the your doubt.